phone. Come closer, baby. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me. The hell with Facebook. See ya. Delete Facebook. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Let's see this. Give this thing a hot second to do its like the start of every live stream. Let's see if the live stream's working.
Isn't that how it works?
I guess. What is up? Hello. All right, my man. It has been one long ass time since I have seen your beautiful face.
Oh man, it's been way too long. It's been way too long.
It has, and I want to start. Hey, Jessica, I'm going to start this with a story that you have orchestrated over our time together. All right. So, God, when did we meet? Like 10 years ago?
Oh
no, it had to be longer than that.
Shoot, when was the?
I mean,
you can't. You had to be like 2008, 2010.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Okay. So, Brian, author, has been up my ass to write a book for a good 20 years now. Legitimately still on the bucket list of shit to do. You go and introduce me to, and I'm telling this story so those who are listening now, this whole hallway track thing, right? Networking event. You have the ability to meet one another. Hello, Lydia. Hello, Jessica. This is Brian. Like, pop off in the comments. That's how you meet people. Like, my entire existence has like grown through meeting folks, and that, like, I don't know, the law of attraction that happens around that. So I meet you 20 fucking years ago, whenever it was, way back in the day. And we get to know one another, whatnot. And you end up introducing me to a gentleman by the name of Dave Thomas, right? And of course, we all think that's the Wendy's guy, which it's not. It's the guy who started Prag Pub, major tech book company, whatnot. He later goes on to keynote that conference. As you know, wonderful human, super nice guy, super approachable, wrote one of my favorite books, The Pragmatic Programmer. Have stayed in touch with him ever since. Not that we talk on the regular, but we talk from time to time. And, you know, I don't necessarily think that I'm anything special. I'm just another guy in Midwest trying to do some shit, right? It was a couple years ago, not this year, this is 21, so 23. It would have been like this November of 22. Pandemic's really messed up.
It's still March 2020.
All date formatting is forever destroyed. Yeah. I get this email from Dave Thomas out of the fucking blue. And he's like, hey, I see that you brought that conference down to Texas. He's like, I'm in Dallas or outside of Dallas, wherever.
Yeah.
He's like, can I come? I was like, you can come and you can tell everybody that you know. Like, please tell everybody.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, right? Like, you know, we exchanged some emails, whatnot. January comes around. Who comes waltzing in the door?
Yep.
Dave Thomas. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Who do I end up doing a little podcast on stage with? Dave Thomas. Who do I have like the most insightful conversation about education and just kind of all the bullshit? I mean, seasoned guy who's been around for more than 20 years. And he's just there. Yeah. And nobody knows. Nobody realizes in the audience who Dave Thomas is. And he's just doing his thing.
Yep.
And I'm just sitting there like, I don't want to say starstruck. That's not really the right.
Yeah, but it's the same. It's a no matter how many times I have a conversation with the guy, I feel the same way. When you have somebody who's so influential to your career, even if you've never met them, there's still this like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about.
Right.
This person,
like, I don't read many books more than once.
Yeah, right.
I don't read many books cover to cover, and yet I've read his multiple times, and I've bought it for other people, and I recommend it all the time. And I think I just sat there. This is a small audience in Texas, and I just sat there thinking, this whole fucking thing, all of that exists for the sole purpose of people meeting one another and helping one another, like the whole nine. And here, a little conversation between two little Midwest motherfuckers who were at some user group in the middle of nowhere, right? Like I think when we first met, there was probably 10, 15 people in the room.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, like, listen, especially sponsors, like I'll get this whole shit about how many people, is it 19,000 because I need 12,000 addresses, whatever. And I'm like, it's not about the number. It's about who's in the room and how you engage with those people in the room. And I think back to you and me and 8 other people in some podunk college classroom. I don't even know where it was at.
Yeah.
And then here, like, that's gone on to you being at other places, me meeting Dave, keynoting, you keynoting, and here it is. It's 2023, and I'm in Texas, and there's 200 people in the room, and 195 of them don't even realize that that's Dave Thomas. He could give a shit less.
Yeah,
he's just there doing his thing, and I'm like, perfect fucking scenario. Like, loved every minute of the fact that all happened, and I have you to thank for that. And I just want to say thank you, because I don't think people realize how like powerful one's network can be. And here it's been like 20 freaking years. Here you and I are talking now, and shit like that still happens.
It's one of those interesting things, right? Like there's two things I can say. Like, there's a lot of people who go around and they'll like, this is no shade, because you got to do whatever you can to get noticed, especially in this job economy. But you'll see folks who've got like they're trying to fit their entire resume into like their LinkedIn title, like, X this company, X that company, and like the X Google and the X Twitter and the X whatever. Those are almost like de facto certifications, almost, right? Like, you used to have like different certifications, but now like working for Google, working for these, that's like a certification, right? And it's like super grand thought leader, X Google, X whatever. And you look at Dave Thomas, he's like a programmer. This is a guy who's got a book that thousands and thousands of people have read, and he's like the most humble guy. He's like, I'm just a programmer, and it's just it's something that's always like, that's been like the most awestruck, because if there's anybody who has a right to brag about his accomplishments, it's him, and he just doesn't. And it's always like, this makes me love the guy even more.
Not only that, like I don't know. I don't want to say he like lives his morals, but like you said, super humble. The dude's not high on himself. If you asked him to help, he would help. Yeah. Like, I mean, just generally like a nice guy. And that's not that this is the Dave Thomas show. They make great burgers, but his air of Wendy's.
Well, the thing is that the thing is he took a chance on me. I've got many books under my belt as a writer and many books under my belt as an editor, and he took a chance on me. I mean,
that's true.
It was a big gamble, because I didn't, I had a really rough time with the first book I put out. I had a kid right at the same time. And
I mean, why would you do that? That's just silly.
And she had, she was in the hospital a lot for some eye stuff, and so I wrote a lot of that book in the hospital, in waiting rooms, and it took a lot longer than I ever anticipated. And I was like, so, and I delivered. And it didn't sell like gangbusters, But Dave saw something. He's like, yeah, but there's talent here, and they agreed to let me write another book, and that one did very well. And then I was like, I like this idea of like editing people's stuff, and I just sent Dave an email saying, Dave, what do you think? How would I? And this has sort of been like my approach my entire career, because I'm not gonna go ask for a job, but I am gonna say like this is where I want to be. You're doing this thing. How would I get there? Like,
Yep.
what do I have to do to get there? Like, if I want to be this type of person, what are the things that I have to do in order to demonstrate to you that I can do these kind of things? And Dave's like, well, I've been thinking about that. We should talk. So he took a chance on me. So I'm always going to be thankful to him for that. And that's the thing about you talking about the power of network. You're talking about that power of network. Like, I find that I spend an awful lot of time each week just introducing cool people to other cool people. And it's really awesome. It's just like a really awesome feeling to be able to say, oh, I know a person you got to talk to about this. And I know that you're going to get along with this other person who's also doing the same thing. That's super fun. And like, I'm a big believer in that whole idea of like the 5-minute favor. Like, if it's just 5 minutes to make an introduction, I'll make an introduction for you. If I think it's going to be mutually beneficial, I will absolutely do that.
Yeah. In fact, I reached out to you, and networking is one of those funny things. Like, you'll see a lot of times where people want to take, right? They want to stack the cards, if you will. I've got the business card versus give.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I'm in the camp of giving too much and probably not taking enough. But I noticed that you knew Mark over at Front End Masters, the guy that started Front End Masters. I was like, hey, can you make an intro? You're like, yep. And then of course, 2 or 3 other people, the same little small network, were like, oh yeah, like, right. He's like right next door. Why has nobody talked to Mark? And the next thing you know, I'm on the phone with Mark, and it's like, Mark, why aren't you coming? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how is this like thing never connected? But you're right. I spend, I don't know, a couple hours a week probably trying to talk to new people and introducing and whatnot.
What I always think is interesting is like that the tech community is simultaneously super tiny and yet so large that there's lots of people who don't know about other people. I saw a comment over in the chat. It's Ross Larson. He says it's a friendly conference reminder. Assume that the person you're next to is an expert until proven otherwise. And I think that's exactly the mentality to have, because there's a lot of people who just aren't on social media, who aren't tooting their own horn, who are really, really good at what they do. They're and you'll never hear about them, and that's kind of unfortunate. But they're really good at what they do. And they're sitting in there, and they're sitting in the conference. They're sitting next to you, and it's like, yeah, you can go to a conference and learn stuff from people on the stage, but my gosh, go sit down and have lunch with someone you've never met. You're going to learn a ton from doing that, because everybody who's attending those things has something useful to share.
We did a survey. We're not great at surveys. We're not great at any kind of demographics, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think it was like 40% of the audience, it was a very low number, was actually on social media.
Yeah. It's
I was
super
like,
small number.
Holy shit. I need all of your email addresses stacked.
Yeah. It's super interesting too. And I was like, I will occasionally, I'll occasionally mentor some folks. I don't have a lot of people at any single time because I've got a lot of other things going on, but I do love being able to help people grow in their careers. And a very common conversation that I have with people is Jessica has this. Sometimes it's super hard to put yourself out there and meet people, but it's made me a better person, and there's no way I'd be where I am today without putting myself out there. Like, that's a common refrain that I have to kind of remind folks. Like, no one's gonna do your marketing for you. Nope. Like, and it is part of like marketing. You have to be willing to shout out how great you are every once in a while. You don't have to do it like, be arrogant about it or have a lot of hubris about it, but you do have to put yourself out there and say, no, this is the good work I do. I'm capable of doing this kind of thing. Because if nobody knows about you, it makes the job hunt harder. It makes
Yep.
all these other things much harder. And you have things to offer. If you've been in the industry for even a couple of years, you have things to
Yep.
offer. Like one of the
Yep.
most rewarding and wonderful things about the mentor relationships that I have with people is they teach me stuff all the time. And that's what a good mentoring relationship is. It's not just me telling them things and being a sage and giving them all the advice. It's me saying, hey, what are you working on? Teach me what you're learning. Tell me about the environment that you're in, because like that's how I can scale knowledge. I can learn about all kinds of areas. And then I go, you know what? I have no idea what I'm doing with Vue, but I know a person who does.
Nobody does. There's only two people that do.
I have a person who used to be a student of mine. She's now a senior software engineer. Is just super good at React Native. I played with React Native like once, but if I have React Native questions, I know exactly who to go to.
Yep. Yeah, as we're saying, wasn't on social media until I watched That Texas. Yeah, girl, I don't know what rock you're under, but I will give you shit for that now for a long time. Yeah, I got my first real big boy job via the resume, right? And I got all the rest of the jobs, and when I say jobs, I even mean inner office, like switching jobs within a company. They were all through networking. Like everything was not necessarily who you know, but kind of what you've did, where you're at, why you're there. So it's important. Obviously, I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
She's got kids and a full-time job.
Yeah, I mean,
we all
fair.
do.
That's fair.
Yeah, I got kids
fair.
too. Yeah, I mean, no, it's not fair. I've got them too.
No, come on now. It's funny.
Mine are
though.
old.
Yeah, that's the key, right? Like it's
now they're old.
Yeah. It's interesting. And you hate to say this, but there's probably 3 times a month where somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, I see you worked with so-and-so at such and such. What do you think about them? Or, and like, like
that happens.
And so, the thing is, like, what I go and goes, if people are coming to me and asking that question about folks I worked with, then people are going to folks I used to work with, and they're getting that intel about me.
Yep.
And so it's like, hey, the network is really important, and so is maintaining that reputation, because it's like, as I said, like there's lots of pockets in the in the tech community, but it's still pretty small.
Yeah. Oh, it's small.
It's
People like to play like it's big. It's not. It's small. Not only is it small, it's very immature. And I don't mean that from like a people perspective. I just mean it from a industry kind of relevancy perspective.
Oh yeah. We were talking about that. We talked about that yesterday at the day job. Just a very small conversation about it, but we had to make a decision. We're talking about trying to make a decision about something, and it was like how we might give authors credit for things. And it's like, well, what will we do? I said, well, this is easy. There's precedent for this. We can look at what publishing does. So just look at what the book industry and the publishing industry does. And one of the team members, he says, yeah, it's every time I realize, like, every time we have to have that, we can just like look back. There's like 300 years, and you trace all the publishing, all the rules back to Gutenberg. I'm like, it is interesting, because when you think about software development, our history does not go back that far. Our standards don't go back that far, and we don't even sometimes even really have established standards we can point to.
Yeah,
we're very immature and compared to a lot of other fields that are out there.
Yeah. I losing my thought. Dang it. I swear this is starting to happen every event. It was around you were talking about. It'll come back to me. Keith puts out there 3 easy questions to ask at any event. Where are you from? What sessions have you enjoyed? What sessions are you looking forward to? Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm not that I meant for any of this to kind of start off with networking. But when I'm coaching people and talking about how to network and how to meet folks, I'm constantly telling them, like, the words you use, create threads that other people can pull on to have the conversation go in places, right? Don't just say, oh, I live in Spring Grove. Great. Chances are nobody knows where that is. So add something to it such that they can go, oh, and find something relatable and meander through that thing.
Or at least pass the ball back. Oh, I'm from Eau Claire.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Right.
Pass the ball back, don't just ask the question. Get used to that. Like, just, throw and catch back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm interested in seeing the session about, Git tips and tricks. What about you?
What's Git?
Yeah.
Why would I do that? Why should I use that?
Why should I say? Oh, yeah. And that is like, that's a fun way. Like that's a trick that I use at conferences a lot, is when someone tells me what session they're interested in, then I'll dig deeper. Oh, I haven't heard about that. What do you know about that technology? I'll try to get them to. And I'm an introvert. Everyone on this should know I'm actually an introvert. I'm generally a quiet person who likes to just listen to music, make music, be alone. But years of teaching in a classroom, I can play an extrovert on TV. So I go to a conference, I'll pretend to be an extrovert for like 3 days, and then I'm crashing for like the rest of them. So if you're an introvert out there, I get you. I really do.
I just read a great book called, and I want to get it right, Matthew Pollard. In fact, I got to meet the gentleman. It is called The Introvert's Edge to Networking by Matthew Pollard, and it is fantastic. I'll throw that down in the chats. It's a great book. Nice, easy read. Got some really, really good mechanisms of how to network and all of that. So
I gotta look into that one.
It's good.
I gotta look into that one. That might be a good recommendation for some folks I know.
Is that my sponsored link? Yes, it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it is.
Attaboy.
Hell yeah. You know what? I've been paid once on Amazon a whole $6.72. Let me tell you. Can't even buy a cup of coffee for that anymore.
I get the letter every month, or the email every month. You didn't make enough this month, so we're not giving you anything.
I don't even open it anymore. Just delete it. I mean, the reality is I just like the short links, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't want to copy that big ass thing. Yeah, it's a great book. I got to meet Matthew, is it 2 weeks ago now? He came in for a entrepreneurial thing. Super cool dude, working through his stuff. Jessica says, so I've learned that being an introvert means that you recharge by yourself. I am an introvert too, but I have learned how to play as an extrovert well. Yep. Well, Jessica.
I hear that. I hear that.
This is a woman who has worked a room. I mean, kudos to her and her journey and where she's come from. It's been fascinating to watch and have her part of everything that does. So many of us were shot after that in Austin, but we all pushed our introverts' limits. I'm going to reframe that a little bit and just say there was no actual shootings that were happening in Texas, and just say that we were very inspired to go outside of our limits and to perform our greatness.
Yeah. Yeah,
there were no harmings of any geeks at that conference, Texas.
All of the batteries were drained, but they were drained for a good reason.
That's right. Yes. And I did get some boots. Although I learned today, let me see if I can find them quick, that Crocs the famous brand Crocs makes, yes, they make cowboy boots. And
no, thank you. No, thank you.
I mean, you know, I'll just let you search for them yourself. But
no, thank you.
I got real ones, but they exist. They exist.
Yep.
I think I'm an ambivert.
Ambivert.
Never. Does that mean you swing on both
Yeah,
sides?
you can like ambidextrous. Like you can.
I mean, you probably can say we all are that in some way. I don't know. People think I'm an extrovert. I don't know. I don't know what I am. I'm doing lots of therapy and shit to figure out what I am. So, cowboy boots, yes. So, how many books have you written at this point?
I think it's 11. I can't remember because I'm working on one right now. I'm finishing up a book. I sent the words off. The words are off.
Okay.
I have to go back and when I finish up a book, I like to read it and make sure that everything. I like try to do every exercise in the book and just make sure that it works before it goes to the tech reviewers, so I can catch the stupid stuff that I did.
I mean, proofreading is a good thing.
No, but it's not just the proofreading, right? It's actually like, no, yeah, let's actually. If I'm saying like run this command, then I'm going to run this command. I'm going to get a clean environment, like I'm going to spin up like a Docker container or a VM, and it's going to be completely clean. This is what we did when I was working at DigitalOcean. All those tutorials when they were published, they were hand tested. Someone took the time to go through it from top to bottom as a reader would and make sure that everything worked before we hit that publish button. And so it's the same thing it's the thing that I do with my own stuff. Like I'm going to make sure before this goes out, I am going to run through it. I'm not just going to trust it because there are so many different variables on your own machine. Like your development environment is set up a certain way. So like testing it is fine, but testing it in a clean environment is like, oh no, I don't have any of my dot files. I don't have any of my shortcuts. I don't have anything. I don't have any environment set up. I got a clean VS Code or whatever I'm using. It's all clean, and then we'll test from there. Because I also got to go take screenshots. I don't do screenshots as I go. I do screenshots all at the end because I have learned. I've learned as a writer. I've learned don't try to do your layout while you write, and don't try to like do your visual stuff while you write, because your layout's going to change as you add more words or as you remove words, and your visuals are going to change as you get 10, 15 steps into the book or the writing project. And you go, oh crap, I got to change something at the very beginning. And now you got to go back and reshoot all your screenshots because you made a visual change. So I write all the words and all the code. I generally write all the code first, then all the words around the code. So like I'll write the code, then I will break up the code examples and then write the words around the code. And then I will go and do screenshots and all that stuff like right at the very end. That's pretty much the process in a nutshell.
Anthony's asking, do you have a list of books so you can check it out? Just go to Prague Pub and search for Brian Hogan. And you can
go to you go, my website has them too, bphogan.com.
There you go.
And there's a publications section. You can see the books, and you can see all the books, so the books that are out of print, and you can see articles and other things I've written.
So you're writing your 12th.
It's a 3rd edition, so I don't know if it counts, but I'm going to count it.
I mean, here's where I'm going. Like, here we are in 2024. Doc sites are of the plenty. Markdown is of the plenty. All the things. Video, we can't watch anything longer than 10 seconds because we have ADHD. Mm-hmm. Are you finding that the draw for technical books is still high? Like, what's the balance be like? Why doesn't Brian just put this shit on the web? Why is Brian still putting it on paper?
Well, I think that the paper part might be the part that's in trouble. And it has been for me for a long time. The actual paper books haven't been producing much, but ebooks Ebooks do fine. They don't do as well as they did 5 years ago. But one of the things that since most of my career now, since 2012, has basically shifted from software engineering to developer education. The thing that I can tell you is you have to separate edutainment from education. There's two mindsets that you're in. You can learn from edutainment, but that's not the primary reason you're doing it. You're watching the video or reading the thing to understand, to gain familiarity, and to get motivated. And there's an important part of the learning process that edutainment handles, which is preparing the learning, preparing the environment for learning. Before I'm going to teach you something in depth, I have to get you motivated to want to learn it. And edutainment serves purpose. So the minute long TikTok videos do a great job of that, right? But when you're ready and properly motivated to move beyond that, we do see engagement with books. We do see engagement with documentation, significantly more. Everywhere I've worked where there's been video production and written content production, everywhere I worked, the written content gets the most engagement over the video content. And it's not even close. It's not even close.
I assume that's because it's a little bit more historically relevant or timeless, if you will.
It's the fact that the feedback when you're looking to be edutained, you're not looking to do the research. So right. I'm happy to watch you write some code, but when it's my turn to actually do it, I don't want to scan and scrub through videos to find out what I'm supposed to do. I want to scan through document, and we use tools like if you're doing content production properly, you're going to use measurement tools. You're going to use tooling on the back end of your documentation sites that check how far down the page do people scroll? What elements do they interact with? Are they clicking on that copy button on those code blocks? Those are all signals that tell you that people are actually using the thing. Whereas with a video, you get how long did they stay engaged on the stream? How long did they watch on the stream? And but when people are ready to learn, you have to remember that adults, especially in software, adults are busy. And we just saw a comment from someone who says they have 3 kids, right? Well, at a job you're thinking about your kids, you're thinking about the deadlines that are coming up. You're probably working on multiple projects. You don't have time to sit through a 9-minute video to get a 30-second piece of information that you need, especially if you have to get past someone's NordVPN pitch, and you have to get past their like and subscribe and their e-begging for Patreon. You just want the information. That's why there are AI services that will take your video and convert them into written format so that you can follow the thing pretty quickly. Because people can just get through it faster. It's that rule of PowerPoint, right? Don't put all this text on the PowerPoint, because why? Because people can read faster than you can talk.
Yeah. And they're ugly.
And they're ugly.
Most importantly, they're ugly. Speaking of AI, how has AI influenced you as the author editor? I mean, I have to imagine you're using it more and more. And I don't necessarily mean in the content creation.
It's you use AI to automate the boring tasks. So like I have a lot of content and I want to extract some keywords that I can use for possible tagging or metadata. It's a great way to use AI that way. Generating a summary that I can use for like a meta description or like a summary or for an email or something like that. It's pretty good for the blank page effect too. Like I got to write about a thing. What are some high level topics? But if you're the reason that people are doing technical writing, so there's like before the rise of AI, you would hear people would say, oh, you should write a blog post about this thing that you're learning, because there's no new content out there. There's just new stories and new ways to tell it. And so what you end up with is lots of articles about 101 level stuff, lots of getting started with X, getting started with Y, right? And that's good. And it's nice to get those perspectives and understand it. But It's kind of what a lot of the AI is trained on. When you start looking at it, when you start getting into, okay, I actually have real problems to solve. That's what you got to write about. You got to teach about that. And the AI is not, it's not able to make a lot of those connections yet. That's what I find is the more niche your topic is, the less covered it is.
Yep.
Then the AI is less helpful in the content creation part because it isn't familiar with that topic. Like I was doing something very, very specific. There's a markdown processor called Goldmark. It's in Go. And I wanted to make some extensions to it for some of the work that I'm doing. I wanted to do some custom post processing. And I'm like, I'm going to try. I'm going to see how far Chat GPT can get. Let's just try that. Let's see how far that will get. Because Copilot was no help. And Chat GPT was a little less help because it had old APIs. So it was spitting out code that didn't work because all the APIs had changed.
Yeah, right.
Because it's but if I use it for something like, I don't know anything about Vue.js, make me a Vue.js component that does this. ChatGPT is actually very good at that. Yeah. As long as you're using it on things that are like well tread, it's pretty great. But if I'm gonna like put together like an outline for something, there's this thing in writing. I mentioned this called the blank page effect. There's this thing in writing, like staring at a blank page does nothing. And I learned about this from a mutual friend of ours, Brian McDonald. You just get stuck on this. I can't make any progress. I don't know what to do. ChatGPT is remarkable for getting that conversation started with yourself. Here's a topic I want to write about. What are some angles I can do? And it can give you some pretty good ideas for that. So it is a good partner for the idea generation.
Yeah, so I use it in that way quite a bit for a lot of like our communications to speakers and attendees and whatnot of like, this is kind of what I want to say. What are your thoughts? And then vomit thoughts. And you're like, oh, I never really thought about that angle.
Yeah.
I should explore that a little bit. Like,
right.
I was kind of over here and it went over there. And I'd kind of like to be in the middle.
Well, it's also interesting if you think about it from the standpoint of like, you could get that same thing from a human. Like you and I could,
except I have no humans.
Yeah, right. What I mean is that you and I could get on a call and brainstorm that content, right? But there's two parts to that. Number one, we got to make the time to do it.
Yeah.
Right. The other part of it is that there is this thing that I discovered through teaching, and I wrote a whole app to help get around this problem with my students. But you learn this from teaching. You learn this when you manage teams of people too. It's embarrassing to admit you don't know something about a topic that people think you should know something about. And so to tell another human, I don't actually know much about this thing. Like the CAP theorem. I should probably know what that is because I work in distributed systems. What the hell is a CAP theorem? I'm not going to go and admit to everybody that I work with I don't know what the CAP theorem is. So I got to go learn about it and figure it out. And so there's this thing inside of our brain that actually prevents us from asking questions because we're afraid to be embarrassed. And the reality that you learn from teaching is if you have a question, there's 3 other people in the room who have that same question. So just fall on the grenade and ask the question. Yeah. But ChatGPT and these other tools, they allow you to ask those questions in private without the fear of having that anxiety of dealing with the imposter syndrome, feeling like a fraud, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously AI is a huge topic these days. And I don't know. I can remember when XML came out and then freaking JSON and people were like, oh, it's going to take over the world. And look how much you can do. And it's like, nothing changed. It's all the same shit. More tools, get humans to do things better.
Yeah, it's an accelerant. It should not replace what you do. It should be an accelerant, and you should be looking at how you can use it to accelerate the work that you do.
Yeah.
But it's not here to replace you because, well, I mean, I'm waiting. I'm actually waiting to see what happens with because there are organizations, there are people who are using this to produce content, using just to crank out content.
Yeah,
and it's like
see it lasting.
You don't think Google's going to figure this out?
Yeah,
they're way smarter than we give them credit for. They're gonna, because they figured this out with the SEO farms years ago. They're gonna figure out which content is AI generated, and they're gonna derank it. They're gonna delist it, and they have incentives to do that. the first incentive is that they have their ad properties they have to sell you through their search property. But the
Yeah,
other
that's
thing is
got
the other thing is they have their own generative AI. So
yeah.
they have two
They've
incentives.
they've already done it.
Yeah, they have two incentives uh to deal with that. So like they don't create too much sludge with this, because it's going to be very difficult. And then confidence will go down from people.
Yeah, I think Google's their search is becoming kind of a hot mess.
I just tweeted about that yesterday too.
I mean, Jiminy Cricket. Like, if you're not selling something, if you somehow don't have some revenue kicked to them, like, you are just not in the results. It is kind of gross.
I'm waiting. Like I just did. So I do a lot of I love data when it comes to content. I have a I have a newsletter. If you're at bphogan.com, you can sign up for it. It's about code and content and whatnot. And I, for this last issue, I talked about just the idea of doing the data gathering, for the traffic that you get, so the page views that you get, as well as measuring the unique visitors that you get. And so I love looking at the data every month for all the content that I'm involved in, whether it's like my personal site or the stuff for work. And I haven't seen yet a significant drop from Google yet. I haven't seen that yet, but I'm expecting it. I'm actually expecting it, like, to see significant change in at the end of June, like, because these. And hopefully people are patient enough with Google to scroll past all of the things to get to the actual search results. But I'm interested to see what kinds of changes that this new search interface that Google has launched will do.
I think I cannot speak to your content. I can only speak to our traffic. I think I have it on pretty good authority. There's just a huge amount of shit traffic that comes, and it looks good for Google as if they're the referrer. But the reality is, it's like, it's bots, it's things scraping, like, they're not humans.
Yeah.
And so the actual, we get like 35,000 uniques a month on TC.
Is that the page view? Is that page views or visitors?
No, that's visitors.
Okay.
I bet you, I'm pretty sure on some other tooling that we've put in place and whatnot, I'm pretty sure the real number to that is really like 8,000. I mean, we're taking the 32,000 hits. I mean, and of course we have to serve the data and everything that goes along with it. So it's, the bandwidth's there, but I'm kind of I think it's about a third of what Google really, or what we're really seeing is actual humans.
Well, the thing is that your numbers probably, I'd be willing to argue that your numbers probably considerably higher than that, given your audience, because you probably have a lot of people who block the tracking cookies. So if it's developers, so your number is going to be higher.
They can't block what I'm reporting from the server. So
yes, that's the key. That's the key. I was like, and that's the thing. And you're smart, because you're old school, and you know that. A lot of folks don't like, they like, oh, Google Analytics, that's their thing. No. Go to the raw server logs. Get those. Because those, I get your IPs.
Not only that, but then you use multiples to triangulate what it is.
You start getting an actual picture.
Is this one lying or this one lying? I don't know.
Which one's lying. And then you can figure out what the bot farms are too, like from the server analytics.
Oh yeah. We've had to shut down countries just because it's just not. I mean, when we first stood up the that.us and thatconference.com, I mean, I was like, holy shit, man, we're getting a ton of traffic. And I was like, holy shit, that's not good traffic.
No, it's not.
Shut it down.
Yeah, you gotta
go away.
You have to look at like the cohort. Like you have to look at like what's the so the tool that I've fallen in love with, because Day Job uses it, and now I don't get as much traffic as you do. So I'm gonna be implementing the free version, because it'll handle way more than what I get for traffic. But by the time I get enough traffic, then hopefully I'm making some serious money and can afford it. But I'm looking at Full Story. I love the analytics tool Full Story. I have a wonderful person that I work with as our head of design at the day job, and she walked me through how to get this thing to work, and how to really pull reports. But I can see like cohorts. I can see like, oh, these people, this cohort visited the site here, and then they came back a day later. They came back 3 days later. We kind of see now. We start seeing, okay, this was actually good traffic.
Interesting.
And we can get heat maps.
Yeah.
We can get all that good stuff. We can drill down, and we can watch sessions. So like we can watch and replay sessions back and say, oh yeah, this is good traffic, or this this person got stuck in a very frustrating loop. This is a bad experience for them. Let's fix that frustrating experience.
So I've never heard of this tool. I will certainly be looking at it. I'm a big fan of a tool we use called PostHog.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've not used it.
It sounds like there's some overlap between the two, because I can do things like session replay and feature flags and traffic. All that. Its angle's a little bit more product based.
Yeah. You get another one. You got feature flag. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I mean, we're still. I'm still getting better at using it, if you will, and understanding how to use it.
Real all like this, all like the real serious marketing people that I know, they end up eventually ending up landing on Segment for all their analytics.
Yeah.
So
we use a couple companies ago, our company, we use Segment.
Yeah.
But it's expensive. Like
it is. Well, it's the thing is like
it's real.
I don't think you understand. Marketing is expensive, but that's but the difference between throwing a little money at some Google ads and the actual value you get from that. People really underestimate the value that you can get from that if you do it right, because especially if you've got a site with low domain authority, then you need to get something out there so that you can get the backlinks. Create a white paper, create whatever, get those backlinks coming from other places back to your site on those sites with high domain authority to help boost yours.
Yep.
A Google ad buy, even with a tiny conversion rate, if you target the right things, can get you a significant amount of traffic that you wouldn't otherwise have gotten.
Yeah, that is one of the places we really fall down. It's just so much work to do. So much.
It is. It's like everything else, right? It's like software is 20. I used to say this when I was teaching, and I still say it today. Software development is 20% code and 80% people. And when it comes to content, it's kind of like writing the content's actually the easy part. We've got all the tools and technologies in the world to write the content. Getting anybody to notice it is where all the work is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think of our backlog and the shit that I would love to do. It's like, fuck, throw some money at it. You're like, yeah, what money? It'd be great. Do an ad buy. Yeah. With what? Write a blog post. Yeah. Yeah. I think Braden was on earlier. He's been helping me on that kind of content strategy and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, I wrote 2. Like, yeah, I got 2.
Consistency is important too.
There's just too much going on.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of things.
I'm not writing 12 books. I mean, you got kids and books.
Yeah, but I didn't write them all in 1 year either.
Still, man, you wrote 12,
11. I started in 2006. And so, one every couple of years or so.
Still.
Now there was one that I wrote. I was actually telling a story to a friend of mine yesterday. One of the books, I won't say which one. One of the books was written in complete anger after having to use a tool during a consulting gig that I was on, and then find the documentation was so poor that I just, on a rampage, I wrote this book in 2 weeks. And
wow.
I remember when I pitched it, They're like, oh, this is great. We would take this, but could you maybe like take some of the swears out of it? Like, oh, I guess I left those in, huh? Sorry.
I just wanted to make sure you were paying attention during the post-processing of this document.
Sorry.
I mean, let's keep it real. What's a book you're looking what's the book you want to write that you have not written?
I really, and I think someone else has already done this because I'm full up with stuff that I have committed to. I have absolutely fallen in love with HTMX. And
Really?
I would love to have done something with that. I would have loved to have written a small focused book on HTMX. I
Why
love
are you
it.
in love with it? Why?
So I've always found it ridiculous since we decided to separate front end and back end and do all this JSON nonsense. I've always found it ridiculous that we have a back end that takes a string and converts it to another string, sends it over the wire so that the front end can convert that string into another string that we then use to generate new strings we build on the page. It seemed ridiculous. Why don't we just but it was like, oh no, you can't send raw HTML fragments. That's just server-side rendering, and that's bad for reasons. And HTMX is like, no, actually it's not. Like just send HTML fragments over and put them in the DOM. Just send them over the wire and put them in the DOM. And I think Phoenix Live View does it in the Elixir framework has their own version of where they use WebSockets and some binary diffing and whatnot to do this. But it's the same idea. Instead of tossing JSON around and marshalling it and non-marshalling it in to do this, like, why? Your back end just can send back the HTML as text. Your front end, you just have a JavaScript framework that can interpret these requests, add some annotations as data attributes or whatever, and because 80% of the wiring that we do is busy work. It's busy work. So like whipping up a web form that posts some data to a back end and then shows you a result. That's a trivial example in the HTMX documentation, and it's refreshing. I am always looking for things that will reduce the complexity and reduce the amount of typing that we have to do. It's why I gravitated towards Ruby. The idea that one of the fundamental things in the Ruby programming language was that you should write code for people, not to like make the compiler happy, not to satisfy the compiler. And if you think about that, there's a lot of things that we in programming do. We're doing it as ceremony for some compiler or ceremony for something else. So I'm always going to
react.
Yeah, well, I'm always going to gravitate. Yeah, I'm always going to and I'm always going to gravitate towards things that are like just less typing, more production, because most of the things that I do, I have to do them with small teams. Like I'm not a software engineer anymore. I run developer education teams, but we still need to write stuff. We still need to a lot of times find ourselves, we need to like add enhancements to our own content management system. I don't have time to do full stack React engineering. I need something that's a little bit quicker. So like all of my web properties, they're running Hugo. Why are they running Hugo? Because it's a static site generator and I never have to worry about WordPress exploits ever. I don't have to think about it. I don't do client-side rendering of my content like you do with other things. I use Hugo. It's all static HTML. Do I lose some things? Do I lose some interactivity because of that? Maybe, but HTMX can give that interactivity back to me with a lower amount of effort. So it's really exciting to me.
I'm waiting for you, Ross. Come on. You haven't said shit. I'm waiting. Ross is the resident Hugo man.
That's one of the that's one of the books. That's one of the books that I'm the most proud of too. Is my Hugo book. I'm super proud of that.
It's a cool framework for sure. And Astro is kind of, I don't want to say unseating it, but is going for Hugo's throat.
No, the thing is, do you know what's gonna keep Hugo on my list of things? And I'm gonna tell you this. This is my hack. Every Hugo site that I maintain in the repository has a bin directory where the self-contained single binary for Windows and ARM Mac and Intel Mac and the Linux one, They all version of Hugo that I used to build the site is in the bin directory of the site. I have zero dependencies to worry about. So when I pull a site out 6 months later on a new machine, I am not recompiling things. I am not forced because somebody's package that uses somebody's package had an update. Now I have to update everything, and now my stuff is incompatible. I don't have to worry about any of that. Give me a single binary. Give me a single binary, and I am happy.
Brian, listen, I don't want to hear your shit. Listen, this is called job security.
No.
If there was not, look, you can go and just run npm update and watch the dumpster fire happen, and you've got 6 months worth of work. So, you know, just got to live the life.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
live the update life.
No, Hugo being JS free is like that. That's the reason why I picked it. The fact that the entire thing is in a single, this entire generator is in a single binary. It's in a single binary. I can that I can control. I'm not an anybody. I can use an old version of Hugo if I want to forever, because what it's generating is HTML.
Yeah.
So there's no JavaScript client-side security vulnerabilities that I have to force to be upgraded to use.
There is nothing wrong with those words at all. Nothing. Other than the fact that you now have no job because the AIs did it for you, because they didn't need to learn anything, Brian. They read your book.
Yep.
They wrote your Hugos. Brian AI.
I can move on to something else.
If AI could do my job, which probably could, I would happily outsource myself to myself and sit out on the patio and write that book for you that I said I would do 10 years ago.
The super awful part is that we need money to pay things like grocery bills and whatnot. Like, so I spend when I'm not computering or talking with awesome people like Clark, I'm making music. I love making music. It's one of my my big hobby, right? I love making music. And I got to tell you, the thing that has been the most depressing to me in the last year is we've got companies who are using AI to make videos and make art and make music and write our code for us. I want it to do my work for me, not my fun for me. I want it to do my work so I can spend my time making art and making music. And it's been like really depressing that we want to use AI to do all the creative stuff, and you can go out and figure out how you're gonna pay your bills. So that's been a little depressing to me.
I don't remember the name of the music generating AI business.
There's like so many of them now.
Yeah, I used one of them to write that conference jingle about call for speakers being open or something. I mean, let me tell you, while I made something, it was god awful, horrible. But hey, it did it.
Yep.
It produced sounds.
It produced sounds.
Nah. I shared those sounds and then I quickly deleted them.
This is
I hope they were not indexed by, well, not Google, because it wasn't paying attention.
Oh, it's on the internet forever now, man. It's there forever.
All right. If you are on the stream, which a whole butt ton of you are,
nice,
and you want to win a ticket to that conference, or you would like some bag of our coffee, and you're in the United States, you have to leave a comment that says something with the hashtag the hallway track, as you can see in the bottom of this beautiful screen. And that's how you get entered to give away, or that's how you get entered to win. So get on it before we end here.
Tell me about this coffee. What is this coffee now? I missed it.
All right. I'll send you a bag. DM me your address afterwards and I'll send you a bag. I don't know.
How did you get involved in this?
Okay. So hold please.
See, Clark doesn't really understand podcasting, because that was a setup for him to run an ad, and he wasn't prepared to run an ad.
Legitimately, I don't know. I don't want to say maybe about 10 years ago, had a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I need you to try this coffee." And I was like, "Cool." Tried the coffee and I was like, "Holy shit, this is great." And he's like, "Oh, I'm roasting it in my garage." And I'm like, "What in the hell did you just say?" And he takes me out in his garage and he's got this rickety ass roaster. And sure enough, he's like buying beans. And I was like, I got to get into this. And it very much reminds me, it started yet another food addiction of, it's kind of like the whole barbecue thing that I'm in.
Mm.
I spend way too much time seasoning wood and smoking meats. And coffee's kind of the same. Like you can buy greens from all over the world, all over elevations. They all have a different like profile. And so the next thing I know, I'm roasting coffee in my garage and I'm buying greens by the, I don't know, the 10-pound bags of greens from, the heights of Costa Rica and over in wherever, not India, but whatever. So I get this addiction just continues to go. And then I'm roasting shit and I'm giving it away to people, right? Because I'm just kind of having fun with it. And I'm like, okay, well, this is, we got to take this to the next level. So Jessica, who was on earlier, her husband works at a roastery in Wisconsin called Stone Creek Coffee. And I was like, hey, could we partner together and make roasts, blends, whatever? Like, could we have some fun with it? And then you guys do the roasting and bagging because I'm not sure that I should just be doing that out of my garage. And
health codes, whatever. It's fine.
And so we partner with them and we have 2 blends right now. One blend and one or single origin, one called Happy Camper and the other called Campfire. Nice. And every event or whatnot, because I try to buy them in bigger batches. I'll get, they smell so good. Okay. I'll bring them to the conference. I'll get 50, 100 pounds roasted and bring it to the conference and sell it. We don't really make any money on it. We probably make, a couple, $3, $4 per bag. So it helps. Probably doesn't pay for the gas that it's costing me to go back and forth, but it helps. And people have fun with it. And more importantly, it's good coffee. And I think that's the thing. You can go to the grocery store and just get shit coffee that's moldy and been sitting around forever. This is this good shit. And I know where it came from. I know the person who roasted it, totally love it. It's local. So I think it's kind of cool. And I have some and I'm like, hey, I'll give some away.
Cool. That is cool. It's
something, the hallway track. Where did I take that too literally?
You want to be entered into the,
I mean, your chances are real good right now. Lydia, it's great. It's great coffee there. I'll share my percent. Share screen giveaway. Boom. Yeah, there's 2 people. So Ross coming at packaging is nice. Thank you, Ross. I could do better. I will not. We're getting there. All time. Garage coffee is greater than garage distillery.
Probably.
Depends what we're distilling. Don, I think I'm going to have to try roasting coffee beans. Listen, there is a ton of ways to roast coffee. Once you open that can of worms, you will learn that there are tumblers. Some people make them on the stovetop. There's a whole, it's just crazy what's there. I've got like a tumbler roaster that's like, I don't know, it's probably $500 or $600. I think it does a pound at a time. So nothing huge, but you can roast your own batch in like 15 minutes. It looks easy, but sort of is. Then you got to find greens. We live in a pretty unique place where a lot of the coffee is imported and actually lives in Minnesota because of the temperatures, because it's not as humid and it's cold a good chunk of the year. It's warehoused in Minnesota. I love how each conversation is wildly different than the last. Well, I'll tell you what, it's rough. It's a shitload different than the one we had last week, because PJ was off the rails. All right. First winner. I thought Anthony is in there. Anthony wanted a coffee. Let's see, where's it going? She can't win. She already left.
Oh no! Must be present to win.
Yeah.
No.
Plus, her husband's the one that roasts the coffee. So
yeah.
this is Jordan.
Look at that.
Ticket or coffee? Let me know. Got to DM me or drop it in the chat. DM me. Well, DM me either way. See you next one. There you go, Anthony. You got your coffee. So, Anthony, DM me, and I will. Well, you got to be in the United States. I can't afford shipping outside the United States. Like, let's be clear. This is coming out of my pocket. USPS ain't cheap.
Oh, it's not for like food overseas. No, it's not.
It's not even.
I did
cheap in the US.
I did this thing for so the guy. I have my T-Mux book, and I did this cross promotion.
T-Mux. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did this cross promotion with a guy who wrote the Vim book for Prague Prog.
Okay.
And the idea was that we did this cross promotion, and I signed 4 hard copies of the T-Mux book, and he was in the UK, and I had to send these over to him. That was like $40 to just send 4 tiny little 100-page books.
Yeah, I had a guy who came to that conference via South Korea, or he bought a ticket and couldn't come, and he was like, keep the money, I don't know, something.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to send him a shirt, and the shipping was like $60 freaking to send a shirt. And I was like, oh hell no. If we're gonna spend $60 in shipping, I'm gonna send homeboy some shit.
Yeah.
There's no way this tiny little shirt is gonna go all the way over to South Korea. And like he'd be the only one with some TC swag in South Korea. Like there's just no way. So we sent him a bunch of shirts and stickers, and that took the shipping from like 60 to 80 or whatever. It's like, I was like, here, give them out to your friends, like, paint South Korea with some trees. So
it's sort of like ordering something from DoorDash when you're the only person ordering.
Oh my God.
It's like, I don't need an extra burrito, but if I buy the extra burrito, it's a lot cheaper. If I just...
Oh my God. My kids, one of my kids, there's always like, no, we're not going out to eat, whatnot. And then the answer is like, well, mind you, we live in the sticks. So they're like, well, why don't we just DoorDash it? And I was like, DoorDash it? Like they got to drive, like, by the time it comes, it's 30 minutes. Like it's cold. Like you're door dashing shit food.
They got air fryers for that.
Right. Like I'm like, this isn't gonna work. Why are we door dashing it? Oh, then we don't have to pick it up. I'm like, you realize it's like $25 in fees to go get that, like, I don't know, hot dog that you wanted from some rinkety dink ass joint. Like, I get it, but no, like it's not happening. It's just not happening. Not happening at all. I'm not door dashing a hot dog. And I blame COVID for that, because that was never in our vernacular. It never ever came up. And that was, I mean, we were trying around here, we were trying to help the restaurants survive.
Right.
The only way that we could order from them was via DoorDash.
Yeah, through the apps.
And then, you know, that now it's like, yeah, we should DoorDash Chick-fil-A. And I'm like, Chick-fil-A is an hour away, hon. Like,
but I don't have to leave.
yeah, like,
okay, look, we're
not doing it.
Look, I work remote, but every morning I don't do the stereotypical remote thing. I get up, I shower, shave, work, put on work clothes, get to work. I do work. It's after work. I'm done. I'm getting into the sweatpants or whatever, and I'm not leaving the house now because
right, because I'm done working.
I'm done work. Once it's time. Once I'm done, so like I don't want to. Oh, I have to leave the house. Oh, okay, fine. We'll leave the house. So, it's like I can see that mentality of like I'm tired. I've worked all day.
Yeah.
I don't want to go and be with more people.
Yeah.
Again, introvert here. Like I've just been in meetings all day. I've pretended to be an extrovert. This is the and we can all have a good laugh about this, right? But there's a lot of people that masking is very tiring. It's very exhausting. Yep. And so if you have to spend your entire day doing that, the last thing you really want to do is go stand at the Chick-fil-A counter.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Work from home is great. I've been doing it since 2005, 6. We did this on purpose when we built this house. This is the proper office. So whatever. But I tell you, there's 6 stairs from my ass right now to the house. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a commute. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very short commute. It's also one that I learned that if I'm in the mindset of like, everything's going on and wrapped up in meetings and anxiety is pretty high, stress is pretty high. When I take that 6 stairs, if I'm not in the right mindset, which often you're not, because 6 stairs is not enough time to decompress, right? You end up kind of, vomiting that out on everybody else because you just haven't had the time. And it took us a while to figure that out. It still happens from time to time. But that's also, it's hard when everything is in your house.
Yep.
Words slip out. And I don't mean that like holding secrets. I just mean that in like it's summer. The kids are here, right? Yeah. That everybody can hear the things that are going on. And thus it's just a different kind of environment. It's
I worked on a project with a guy who'd been working remote for a long time, and he had just some really, really awesome advice about like, he's like, you have to have a commute. Even if you work from home, you have to have like an actual commute, like to work and from work. So like, and I've been bad about this lately, and this is a reminder for me to get better at this, but to go for a walk. When my kid was younger, for her elementary school was just like half a mile away from our house. So I would walk her to school every morning. And then my walk back was my commute to work.
Yeah.
And that was so good for my mental health. And then at the end of the day, I would go walk down to the school and I would pick her up. Yeah. Now I wasn't done with work yet. So I couldn't count it as my after work commute. But what I did do is I did start like at the end of my day, like I'm done at 5 or whatever. Like from 5 to 5:15, maybe I don't do a physical commute, but I do some like writing or some journaling or something to get how am I feeling about the day, to break to have that taxi time before it's time to leave this office and go see the family. And I've learned that is the ritual that you have going on. It's why I get ready for work. It's why I get up and I have on my morning ritual. I make my coffee. I get ready to go to work. I don't just roll out of bed, throw a ball cap on, sit in my PJs and get to the computer. I don't do that. I need to prepare for work. Let's leave work. Let's leave. Now let's Mr. Rogers it. Let's take the shoes, take the street shoes up with the work shoes on, make that transition, having that graceful transition.
When we built this house, the house is really like two houses that are, it's like a 2-story house and a ranch. Let me rephrase that. It's like a single story and a 2-story that are connected via a kind of a catwalk, if you will, and a set of stairs. So you zigzag back and forth between the two sections of the house. So in this section, it's this here is actually a walkout basement. But because of that, it's larger than, I'll call it the faux office in a house or a bedroom, right? And then above us is a master bedroom. And then, to in front of me is like the 2-story house. And that was really important for us because it was like, here's a place where we can both work. We've got a conference table, a whiteboard. We have natural light.
Yeah.
Right. Things are soundproofed so that I can have the stereo. If I want to have the stereo up, like I'm not interrupting the house. At the same token, they can go be kids and whatever needs to happen and over there. And I don't have to worry about it. If I'm talking to somebody awesome like yourself, I want to have the windows open. Finally, it wasn't like this when we first moved in. I have separate heating and air conditioning in here. It wasn't like this when we first moved in. When we first moved in, I was fucking cold. And I had to wear a winter jacket because it would get down to like 40 degrees in here and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Now it's better. But
no, that's cool. That's I don't know too many folk. I mean, this is just a bedroom. It's the only thing it is it's the office. It's the office, and then like over here is the over here on this side is the music studio part of my office. So it goes work, music time. It's enough of a separation.
So desk and then
hobby shop.
Storage. Let's see.
Come on, where's the 3D printer?
I don't have one.
I figured you did.
Conference table.
Yeah.
Whiteboard.
There you go.
I don't know. Wife's desk. And so there's the outside that goes to the. And then there's storage over there.
Yep.
Everything's on. We try to have everything on wheels, sort of, just so that if I want to flip around. Look at something different. Put the desk together.
Now I was expecting like the geek workbench, the full on geek workbench with the soldering irons, the 3D printer, and the laser cutter.
I mean, I'm more of the mechanic guy like my garage has.
Okay.
My garage has the toys and the wrenches and the welders. I would love a 3D printer, but it's not an approved purchase by the boss. So that one has been put on. It's been in procurement for a while.
Okay.
So I was told I have enough hobbies.
That's the key. That's the key.
Can I finish a hobby?
Yeah. It was sort of like when I hear like things like I think it's cool that people do like home brewing. I think it's really cool that people do like making their own coffee. I have no interest in being on the supply side of any of that. I'm happy to drink the beer and drink the coffee, but that's not a hobby I'm ready to adopt.
I mean, my little barbecue hobby has gotten out of hand. I will freely admit that it is an unhealthy addiction. But man, I make some good barbecue. Not all the time. Sometimes I've really blundered it, but
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's how you learn. That's how you learn, right? You try a thing and that didn't work so well.
Yeah.
Like Don says, I really need windows in my basement home office. I miss the sun. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
yeah.
You do. It's a big. I mean, it really helps.
It's a big deal. I mean, just even like, you know, and it's hard in the wintertime, like in Wisconsin, right? But like at least in the summertime, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go outside for like 15 minutes. I'm gonna go walk. All right. Like a lot of times I'll just go walk barefoot around the grass or something just to get outside, touch grass and feel the sun. Because that and I feel so much better when I do that. I don't have a lot of light in this room. I have a big window here. But it's if I don't keep the shade down in the morning, this room gets real hot because it is a east facing window.
Yeah.
So I tend to keep the shade down for a bit. And then I just forget because I'm in meetings. I have the light, you know, the key light so I don't look like weird. And I just keep forgetting to open the window.
Yeah. It's a big deal. I mean, like I said, when we built this place, that was part of the deal. I mean, I was already working at home and we kind of knew I didn't want to be with everybody else. I needed my own space.
Yeah.
Even now, you know, I think now I'm kind of in a place of I would like to get out and go somewhere else. There's no co-working spaces around here, so that kind of sucks. But
so you know, there's organize, you know, you organize things like this, that helps. That's something I encourage people to do, like people who work remotely, like just organize. If you find these situations, organize like a weekly social or a monthly social or something like that. Just get on and just talk to people. Figure out a way to do that. It can be incredibly helpful. Co-working over Zoom, you know, like you can do it. You can do it. You know, don't violate any NDAs, please. But co-working over Zoom, you know, it can be a cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, I, like you, have work to get to.
Yep.
Any last like parting words? Like, it's been great to catch up. I haven't seen you in a long time. We're going to see you here in, I don't know, 50 some days.
Oh, I can't
Coming
wait.
quick. I don't want to hear any shit out of you this year that you're sick or I got
back-to-back COVID, man. It was not fun.
Wear the suit. Put the hazmat suit on now.
I am declining all like social functions because I need to be with my tech family.
It's been a while. When's the last time you've been?
Prior to pandemic, 2019 was the last time I was with y'all.
Okay. So you saw the new space then? Yeah.
I saw the new space. That's when my previous company, we did the booth there. And so I'm excited this time because we're gonna do the booth this time.
Yeah.
The current company's gonna be there doing the booth.
Thank you.
I got a really awesome dude coming with me who's on my team. He's kind of the face of our courses. He's gonna be there showing people how to use temporal and teaching, and I'm really excited to have him there. We got an engineer coming with us to hang out in the booth. It's going to be a really good time. So
it's going to be a good time.
I'm looking forward to being back with the that conference family, seeing everybody else, meeting all kinds of new people, making all kinds of new friends. So
well, you do me a favor, go tell all your temporal folks.
Oh yeah,
all the people using it that they got to come to that conference. Because we need people to just wake the fuck up and get out of their basements.
Yeah.
And for those that are in chat, there's a whole bunch of people online. The weekend is coming. Don't sleep on it. Try to get ahead, get a little recharge. Ross, Don, Ryan, Jessica, Lydia, Anthony, Isra. Who else was in here? Mr. Keith Casey, Jordan, Braden was in here, Colin, Chris. It was a pleasure seeing you. Keith and I are chatting Tuesday at what time, Keith, are we doing this? Tuesday at 3 p.m. And I'm pretty sure I know what the conversation is going to be. I'm gonna have a big announcement. Gonna need Chat's involvement in how we shape it. Keith doesn't even know what the hell I'm talking about. But I think we're going to try to sort out something on Tuesday. So if you don't come, then you get no input. That's
there you
all
go.
I can say.
There you go.
But Brian, it was lovely chat. It was lovely. Have a great weekend, and see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. This is great. This is so much fun. It was great seeing you again. Great talking to all these wonderful people too.